Hello, Year 9. I hope you're doing well. I have put together a little support slideshow for you on the present tense in German. So this is corresponding to the last lesson in your latest work pack. And we're going to talk through some of the reasons why we have common errors when using the present tense in German, what those common errors are, and how we can avoid them in the future. Okay, so let's make a start. So you've done a lot of photocards in your last work pack, so we're going to kind of stick to those to practice the present tense. I first want you to think about how many ways there are to describe what is happening in this photo in English. So for now, just think about it in English. How would you describe what the people are doing? So we might describe this picture by using the following. So we might say they are talking, they are chatting, they are laughing. Or we also have the option to say they talk, they chat, and they laugh. Now, those of you who I've been teaching know that I've always said German is efficient even when it comes to the language and to its grammar. So in German, we only have one of these two options to say what someone is doing. So in English, we use the first box here to say that they are talking right now, they're chatting right now, and they're laughing right now. But the second box is when something is done repeatedly. So they talk at lunch every day, they chat before class in the morning, and they laugh usually when they meet up. So there is a slight difference, but both are obviously expressing something that you're doing in the present tense. In German, we only have one of these options. Okay, so when we use the present tense, we don't have this part. So we don't say that they are doing something right now. Think about it in the way that Germans are really efficient and straight to the point. So they're just saying they talk, they chat, they laugh. Okay, so this is the only form that we have. So let's have a look at what that might look like in German. So you might recognize the following phrases. So in German, to describe what's happening here, we could translate they are talking, they are chatting, and they are laughing literally. Okay, but that would lead us to a common error, which is that we would use ist, or in this case sind. Okay, so we wouldn't say sie sind sprechen, sie sind plaudern, or sie sind lachen. We just simply say sie sprechen, sie plaudern, sie lachen. Okay, good thing here is that the form of the verb that you need for sie in this case is the same as the infinitive. So we have our en ending here and here. Plaudern is slightly different there. But once you know the infinitive, that means you can describe what a group of people are doing as well. So let's have a look then what happens when we try to translate from English into German in the present tense. So I want you to have a think if you can spot the common error. This is one of my favorite examples. So you may want to pause the video here and have a think about how would you translate they are eating. So first thing someone might do is translate it literally again, which is Sie sind essen. The problem with that is if we translate it back into English, this translates as they are food. So obviously that doesn't make sense. We need to be very careful when you are translating that you really look at what it would be when you translate it back. So the correct forms would be Sie essen, to say that they, the people, the family, are eating. There is another slight challenge there for us, which is the fact that sie in German, as you know, can also mean she. However, the good thing is that in this case, essen, so to eat, is changed into sie ist, so it's irregular. So again, you need to know these two forms of the verb in order to translate correctly and make sure that your message is coming across. But what you have to remember is that you do not use the sind here. Okay, so I've got another example here. the verb that we're quite familiar with, which is playing in German. So the task would be here, they are playing. So we're going to give a wrong translation firstly again. So the common error is to say Sie sind spielen. Okay, we see that all the time. So if you recognize that for yourself, I don't want you to worry about that too much. It does happen all the time, but it does require us to really pay attention and revise the present tense. So Sie sind spielen would unfortunately translate to they are games, which is not what we're trying to say. We instead would say Sie spielen for two or more people. And again, we need to make sure that we don't translate it as she plays. So here we can see the difference if we look at the ending. So you've got en for they, you've got t for sie. Okay, so this is why it's really important that you learn the verb endings and make sure that you proofread any work, especially translations. Okay, so we're going to talk through now how to use Palm to help you with this. So you've used Palm in your last work pack and you will be using it for the next 2 years quite extensively because this is what we use to help you describe a picture. So you know that it stands for people, action, location and mood. And I'm going to kind of split them up a little bit. So the important bit is that we need to pay attention to the present tense in this action part. So this is where you would only have the pronoun and the verb, not ist or sind. So as you can see here, it's a bit small, but if you look at the action part, you use your pronoun, which is here at the top, and then you've got various different verbs. There is no ist or sind in between. So we've got examples such as spielt, for he plays, sie lernt, she learns, and sie kaufen, they buy. Okay. For location, this is when ist and sind come in. So you would use your pronoun, so the person, you would use ist and sind, and then you would use the location. So examples of those are ist im Park, sie ist in der Schule, so he is in the park, she is in school, or sie sind zu Hause, they are at home. Okay, so this is where you need to use them for the location part. For the mood part, again, you can use a pronoun and then ist and sind, and then you add the mood onto it. So for example, we've got ist glücklich, he is happy, sie ist gestresst, she's stressed, or sie sind traurig, they are sad. Okay, so location and mood is always where you're describing something to do with that person in more detail. So you're not describing what they're doing, you're describing where they are or how they are feeling at that particular moment in time. So what you need to take away from this is when you go to the action part, we don't have ist or sind, and you need to double check your work to make sure that you haven't got that in there. Okay, so let's have a little go at practicing this. So you might want to have some scrap paper or a whiteboard if you've got one, or you can use the back of your planner. And we're just going to do a couple of translations. I'm going to give you the English that I want you to translate and then 2 options. So I want you to pick the correct option. So you might want to pause and restart the video as we go through them to check your answers. So let's have a go. All right, so here is our example, which is she is writing a letter. So the 2 options that we have is sie schreibt einen Brief or sie schreibt einen Brief. So let's practice our writing a little bit and write down the correct option for this translation. Okay, so the correct version or the correct choice is sie schreibt einen Brief. So we've got sie and then immediately we have the action. There is no need to translate the is from the English. We're just doing it as if it is she writes a letter. So you always need to think back to that and say, well, what's the other version of expressing this action here? She is writing, the other option is she writes a letter, and this will help you then translate it properly into German. Next one is he is learning German. So we've got ist lernen Deutsch or lernt Deutsch. So this one is lernt Deutsch. So we've got no ist in there. We've just got he learns German. Okay, they are eating cake. So we've got sie essen Kuchen or sie sind essen Kuchen. So hopefully by now you will recognize the pattern. It is sie essen Kuchen. And then we have she is using a computer. So as you can see, we've got sie again here, but this time it's not referring to they, it's referring to she. So what we need to do is look at the verb, the action, and make sure that we've got the right ending. So we've got benutzt here with a T at the end, which helps us recognize that it's she, not they. So the correct translation here is sie benutzt einen Computer. Okay, so she is in the town centre. Now, this is obviously very important when you come to your writing. In your speaking exam, you might, you're not going to hear the difference whether in your head you said sie ist in der Stadtmitte with 2s or sie ist in der Stadtmitte with 1s. But I want you to think about the difference in terms of the meaning and the message you're bringing across. That is all down to this little extra s. Okay, so the first option here, if you say sie ist in der Stadtmitte with 2s, that literally means she is eating in the center of town, whereas sie ist with 1s describes that she is in the town center. So if you had a photocard in your writing exam, you need to make sure that you double check and you know the difference, because the meaning can change quite drastically based on just one letter. Okay, so now another one for practicing sie, we're looking at they are happy. So I want you to pay attention to the fact that what I'm describing here is a mood. Yeah, so it's not an action, it's not that they're doing something, but it's how they are feeling. So the correct translation here, as you can see, I've given you an option where we've got ist and we've got sind. Okay, so we know that that's already going to be included. So we have sie sind glücklich. So we have to make sure that we know that sie sind is they are. Okay, so I've got a couple of translations here that you might want to work through. They do correspond with the translations in your work pack. So what you might want to do is pause the video here, make a start on your translations, and then restart the video so that you can check your own answers. So you might want to pause it here, and then I'll give you the translations in a little while. Okay, so here we've got the correct translations for these phrases. So we've got he's drinking Coke, trinkt Cola, they are talking, sie sprechen, or you can use sie plaudern. She is listening to music, sie hört Musik. So we don't have this to there, we don't need that in German. You just say she listens music. Again, really straight to the point, even though it sounds a bit funny to us. I am watching TV. Is ich sehe fern. The boy is doing homework. Here we have to recognize that is doing homework in German is translated with macht. Ooh, a bit wonky again. So we don't use the word doing as such. It's kind of like saying he makes his homework. And then the last one, the girl is sharing photos. Das Mädchen teilt Fotos. Okay, so hopefully this has helped you work your way through the present tense. Keep coming back to this. This is something that we have to revise continuously and repeatedly. It's all a question of practice makes perfect. So you can use this slideshow as much as you want, and we are going to be practicing this a lot more when you come to your GCSEs. I hope you're all well. We're all missing you very much, and we're hoping that you're all staying safe. Okay, auf Wiedersehen.